The glass of bourbon trembled in my hand, its amber glow catching the chandelier's light as her boss's voice sliced through the room. "You must be the guy who keeps Sarah chained to that little life of yours," he said, smirking, his eyes glinting with something sharper than amusement. The words hit like a punch I hadn't seen coming, and the crowded ballroom, filled with clinking glasses and forced laughter, seemed to shrink, the air thinning around me. Sarah, my wife, stood just across the room, her red dress a beacon in the sea of suits, laughing with a colleague, oblivious to the bomb her boss had just dropped. Or was she? I forced a smile, my jaw tight, and muttered, "Chained? That's a new one." My heart thudded, a dull rhythm against the jazz band's upbeat tempo. Richard, her boss, leaned closer, his cologne sharp and invasive, his voice low. "Oh, come on, man. She's out here shining, and you're what? A school teacher? She could do so much more." His words weren't just a jab. They were a challenge, laced with a smug certainty that made my skin crawl. I glanced at Sarah again. Her eyes met mine for a fleeting second, and she smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Something was off. It had been for months. The party was in full swing at the upscale downtown hotel, all polished marble floors and gold-trimmed walls. Waiters wove through the crowd with trays of canapés, their faces blank, while Sarah's co-workers traded corporate banter. I'd always felt out of place at these events, my button-up shirt and loafers a far cry from their tailored suits and designer watches. Sarah had insisted I come tonight, her voice soft but firm over breakfast. "It's important, David. Please." I'd chalked it up to her wanting me to see her world, to bridge the gap between her high-flying marketing job and our quiet life in the suburbs. But now, standing here, Richard's words gnawed at me. Chained. Had she said that to him? I sipped the bourbon, the burn grounding me as I replayed the last few months in my mind. The late nights at the office. Her phone, always face down on the counter. The way she'd started pulling away when I reached for her in bed. Her touch replaced by a sigh and a murmured, "I'm just tired." I told myself it was stress, her promotion, the long hours, the pressure. But Richard's smirk lingered in my head, a splinter I couldn't dislodge. I crossed the room toward Sarah, my steps deliberate, the crowd parting like a tide. "Having fun?" I asked, sliding a hand around her waist. Her body stiffened, just for a moment, before she leaned into me, her perfume sweet and familiar. "It's work, you know? Networking," she said, her voice light but her eyes darting to the side. The colleague she'd been talking to, a guy with slicked back hair and a too white smile, nodded at me, then excused himself. I watched him go, his hand brushing Sarah's arm as he passed. My stomach twisted. "Richard seems friendly," I said, keeping my tone casual, though my pulse betrayed me. Sarah's laugh was sharp, almost nervous. "Oh, he's just like that. All bark, no bite." She sipped her wine, her lips leaving a faint red stain on the glass. I wanted to believe her, to let the moment pass, but the air between us felt heavy, like the pause before a storm breaks. "He said something about me holding you back." I pressed, my voice low. Her eyes flickered, and for a split second, I saw something: guilt? Fear? Before she masked it with a smile. "He's an idiot, David. You know that." But I didn't know. Not anymore. The rest of the night blurred, small talk with her coworkers, their polite questions about my job, my life, all of it feeling like a performance. I watched Sarah move through the room, her laughter brighter with them than it ever was at home. She was magnetic, radiant, and I'd always loved that about her. But tonight, it felt like she was slipping away, like a song I could still hear but couldn't quite catch. When we got home, the house was quiet, the kind of quiet that amplifies every thought. Sarah kicked off her heels, her movements quick, distracted. "I'm exhausted," she said, heading for the bedroom. I stood in the kitchen, staring at the counter where her phone lay, screen dark. I'd never checked it before. Never needed to. But Richard's words echoed, and my hand moved before my brain could catch up. I unlocked it. Her passcode was our anniversary, a detail that now felt like a cruel irony. The messages were there, buried in a thread with Richard. Not many, but enough. "You deserve better," he'd written weeks ago. "Someone who gets you." Her reply: "I know. It's just complicated." My chest tightened, the words blurring as I scrolled. Late-night texts. A photo of them at a bar, her hand on his arm. Nothing explicit, but every word screamed what I'd been too blind to see. She hadn't just drifted. She'd chosen. I don't know how long I stood there, the phone cold in my hand, my heart a mess of rage and grief. When Sarah came back into the kitchen, her face paled. "David, what are you doing?" Her voice was a whisper, fragile, like she already knew. "You tell me," I said, holding up the phone. My voice cracked, betraying the calm I was trying to hold on to. "What is this, Sarah? What are we?" She opened her mouth, then closed it, her eyes filling with tears. "It's not what you think," she started, but the words sounded hollow, rehearsed. "I was unhappy, okay? I didn't know how to tell you." "Unhappy?" I laughed, a bitter sound that didn't feel like mine. "We've been together 10 years. You couldn't talk to me." The kitchen felt too small, the walls closing in as her silence filled the space. She didn't deny it, didn't fight, just stood there, tears streaming, her guilt a weight I could feel across the room. I wanted to scream, to break something, to make her feel the ache tearing through me. But all I could do was ask, "Why?" Her answer was a knife. "Because you're safe, David." And I wanted more. The word hung there, sharp and final, cutting through the life we'd built. I thought of our mornings together, her head on my chest, the promises we'd made. All of it a lie. I walked out, the night air cold against my skin, her sobs fading behind me. Richard's smirk flashed in my mind, but it wasn't him I hated. It was her. And me, for not seeing it sooner. The street was empty, the stars indifferent, and as I walked, I realized the truth. The man I was, the one who loved her, didn't exist anymore. Not to her. And maybe not to me.